So what was the point of this exercise? Maybe someday they will tell us. But we don't have time to think about it because now we have yet another potential war to contend with. And it comes in Asia. Just what we need. This week, with the blessing of the Biden administration, Nancy Pelosi decided to head to Taiwan. That's all but confirmed at this point. Government officials in Taipei have just been notified that Pelosi's arrival is imminent. She may be in the air right now. She's definitely coming, one source told the Wall Street Journal. The only variable is whether she spends the night. So Nancy Pelosi goes to Taipei. What's the effect of that? Well, we don't need to guess. The Chinese government has said repeatedly and clearly that if Nancy Pelosi lands in Taiwan, it could trigger a global war. Watch.
A Chinese spokesperson said there would be serious consequences for the visit, over the weekend conducting military drills at sea.
If House Speaker Pelosi insists on visiting Taiwan, China will take resolute and strong measures to defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Are they bluffing? It doesn't sound like it, actually. A representative of Chinese state media said this, quote, if U.S. fighter jets escort Pelosi's plane into Taiwan, it is an invasion. The Chinese army has the right to forcibly dispel Pelosi's plane and the U.S. fighter jets, including firing warning shots and making tactical movement of obstruction. If ineffective, then shoot them down. Oh, shoot them down. Okay. So the White House naturally was asked about this. We're suddenly on the brink of yet another global war, potentially a nuclear war, because Nancy Pelosi has been given the green light by the White House to fly to Taiwan. So what's the White House view of this? Listen.
An official who is associated with Chinese state media is suggesting that if Speaker Pelosi tries to go to Taiwan, her plane could be shot down. Does the president have a response to that?
You know, I've been asked about, I know you're asking specifically about the rhetoric that we're hearing from China, but as it relates to the speaker's travels, it's something that we're just not going to speak to. Right now, that's a hypothetical.
It doesn't seem like a big deal to put dumb people in positions of authority. Oh, we're helping them out. She's breaking ceilings. Okay, got it. Until something terrible goes wrong, which inevitably happens when you're running the biggest country in the world. That's a hypothetical, says Karine Jean-Pierre, even though, of course, it's the opposite of a hypothetical. There's nothing hypothetical about it. China has repeatedly threatened to shoot down the plane carrying America's Speaker of the House, third in line for the presidency. And yet no one seems to think this is a big deal. This is one of the weirdest moments in the weirdest presidency in American history. The Biden administration is provoking a hot war with China, which by itself would seem to be headline news. But why? It might make a kind of sense if Biden had been a China hawk over the course of his career, if he wasn't taking money from the Chinese government, which he has. But of course, he's the opposite of a China hawk. He is a toady to China. Since the day Biden was elected, he has helped the Chinese government in ways that no American president has ever even contemplated. A partial list. The administration helped cover up the origins of COVID, even after it became very clear that this global pandemic, which wrecked the American economy, was created by the Chinese military. But we can't mention that because it's racist. Then the White House shut down a counter-espionage program designed to stop Chinese spying, which is endemic in the United States. Then Biden dropped tariffs against Chinese goods. Then he refused to do anything to move critical manufacturing back to the United States. And at the same time, he's literally selling our strategic oil reserves to China in the middle of a domestic energy crisis. And by the way, handing our entire energy grid over to the government of China. And then, to top it off, today, the Pentagon spokesman, John Kirby, who acts as the White House spokesman, all of a sudden, for some reason, said this, quote, "We do not support Taiwan independence." When was the last time a White House said that? No, they don't say that. Now they are saying it. We don't think Taiwan's its own country. Okay. So on every level, meaningfully on the policy levels that matter, Biden has been more pro-China than any president, and yet he seems to want a war with China now. This does not make any sense at all. In fact, it only makes sense if the Biden White House is intentionally trying to weaken and destroy the United States. There's no other logical explanation for what we're seeing now. And in fact, the template is very familiar. What's happening in China looks very much like what happened in Ukraine earlier this year. The administration sends the least capable possible emissary to a flashpoint in a faraway part of the world in order to provoke a violent response. Then it was Kamala Harris, who was an international joke, the last person you would send